Hey everyone. As you can see, I'm not in my car driving around. I am in the studio, and for this particular podcast, I wanted to bring in someone because of the nature of the conversation. So I asked my faithful Negro companion, DJ Ron Love. What up, though?
What up, though?
Man, you did not just do jazz dance. DJ Ron Love, tell the people about yourself.
I am a father, a husband, a grandfather, an associate minister at my church, an IT guy, again, also DJ, of course, and produce,
You,
make music and stuff like that on the side as well.
you over on Twitch, right?
Yeah, I can be seen on twitch.tv/DJ underscore Ron Love. I have a YouTube channel, but I don't really stream there much. I'm gonna have to put more stuff out there.
Yeah,
Also,
you do.
kick.com if you want to hear previous mixes of mine. Kick.com.
And that radio show, you
Also,
still do that?
yeah, also stream on the best kept secret radio network.com. You can go there, all one word, the best kept secret radio network.com. I also do a gospel show, radio, internet radio called Answer the Call Internet Radio. You can download that app and listen to gospel all day if you like it, if you like gospel music.
All right, we'll put those links down below. But the guy's kind of busy. So the reason why I asked Ron, besides him being my friend, and the nature of this conversation I want to talk about is friendship, and not just friendship, but friendship among men, and more particularly friendship among Black men, of which Ron and I are both. We've talked about a lot epidemics of loneliness among men, particularly young men, with things like heart disease and strokes and dementia, all being byproducts of excessive loneliness among men. And I think some of that's not just romantic relationships, but particularly friendships. I feel like we have laid a lot of this burden at the feet of social media, which does bear some burden of it, but not all of it. And so one of the reasons why I wanted to call in Ron, I've known Ron for what, 40 years now, and we've been through thick and thin together. Uh, he was in my wedding. I wasn't his because I couldn't get leave at the time. But we've known each other for a long time, family, friends, all that good stuff. So I now I feel like he could, speak to some of these things as a close friend. But I can say some things, and we'll probably reveal some stuff we haven't said to each other, and that will be, one of the key things about friends. So before we go any further, Ron, what is a friend?
So I think a friend is someone who cares about you. You care about them. You have probably have some things in common. That's why you kind of got together. But I think ultimately somebody that you care for each other. You care for each other, and to the point that when you say or do things that you may be able to say and do things to them that others can't, because they ultimately know it's not out of spite or hate or anything. You actually care for them. So I guess someone is there for you and someone that you're there for, and it's give and take. It's not all one-sided.
And that's valid. I think I can agree with that. I would only say somebody that someone you have a mutual respect, admiration, and just general closeness to. You share common habits. You probably are in close proximity, but somebody who you can count on. So, and then I'm looking on the internet here, and it says a person whom one knows and with whom one has a bond of mutual affection, typically exclusive of sexual and family relationships. So, can we? I can agree with all those. Are you good? So we can have at least a starting point.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's good.
Okay. And before I go any further, my daughter is roaming around, so I may have to interject with her, but she's promised to be good and quiet while she plays. So just so that the good people out there watching will know. So okay, so we've come up with an idea of what friendship is. I would say Ron and I are definitely friends, but my concern has been And we talked about this offline as to, do we value friendships? And that's really what I want to talk about, because I emphasis on young men and their inability or lack of friends and their epidemic of loneliness. I don't think that's the case. Age, right? Right.
Um, Hold on, you're just skipping on me a little bit again. Repeat the question again.
I said, I started off talking about young men and their
Hmm.
issues with friendship,
Yeah,
but I don't think that's so much related to us at our age.
yeah. So I think about it too. Our friendships perpetual? That's an interesting question. I just thought about, like, because I got friends, like, I had middle school friends that I don't even know, I don't even remember some of them now. High school friends, of course, college friends, and maybe friends when I was a young adult out of school. That they just work friends, or you know, I was
Work
always
for
a loner kind of growing up, but a lot of people around me, they had their cliques. I don't think was in a clique, because I had friends that like to do certain such things. Like I was saying, for college, I had friends who like to play basketball. I like playing basketball. We played basketball together, but they weren't into comic books and stuff like that. So if I want, and not that I was a big comic book person, but when I did want to talk about it, they wouldn't go with the guys I would talk to. I would talk to James. He was into comics. So you had like I had different friends or different groups of people that enjoyed different things, because I enjoy different things. And so um now I'm thinking about, when you're not into that thing, if you have a bowling buddy, when you stop bowling, are they still your buddy? I don't know. So I think those are
and
some
and,
things
and
that
that's
might be
a
considered.
that's a good point, because so high school, college, these are natural breaks, because you're put
Work
together,
friends.
because work friends, you're put together in a certain situation. In the case of school, y'all going to school together, and you're kind of forced to be together. You take classes together. In college, you may live in the same dorm or something like that. But when you graduate, that's a natural break,
Mhm.
because you go to another school, you go off to work, whatever. But does that terminate the friendship? And I ask that because I think what you're referring to. So you go to college, and then you leave, and you go to work, and then you got another group of friends. But do you ever get to a point where it's like, I don't have any friends, and you got all this history of friends behind you? Why don't we reach back and grab those friends and bring them back to us?
That's a good question. Case in point, I got married when I was 33, 2001. My wife had like 5 or 6 bridesmaids. And I'm like, you know what? I don't even think I know enough guys to be, grooms to match her amount of bridesmaids. So I'm thinking. I say, you know what? Let me ask my college roommate buddies and stuff I hadn't probably talked to in maybe 10 years or something like that. And I felt kind of bad. Like, man, I'm just, I hadn't talked to you in a long time. All of a sudden, I want to talk, ask you to be in the wedding, and and
But they was down, right?
yeah, they were down. They were
They were
nobody said
down.
no. Yeah, and so it lets you know they were friends. So that was my college friend, and he was willing to stand in my wedding for me. And so, but that's still part, like, man, I feel almost funny asking them, because it's like, here I hadn't talked to you in a while, and now I'm talking to you because I want something or need something. So that was pretty interesting thing. I just
That that
Dada.
that is interesting, because when I went to the same thing, of course I asked you, but there was Ron and Orlando. I think that was it. And that was, I hadn't talked to I talked to Ron, not you, the other Ron, several times. And then there's the Ron I knew from the Air Force, and I hadn't seen him since we went different paths. But I had been in contact with him. But Orlando, I hadn't talked to since the '90s, and but he was down. And what was funny is because he asked me to be in his wedding, and it was kind of thing. Well, you owe me when I get married. I got married much later, but I go back to the question of, well, why did those friendships dissolve? Was it because you didn't need them anymore, or you were in a position where you had friends, or you just didn't do it?
That's a good question. I'm almost leaning towards that. Getting that saying, a friend in need is a friend indeed. Like, do you have to need each other before you're considered friends? If they would have told me, nah, I'm not, I can't be in it, I would have been okay, whatever. I wouldn't have been hurt, I don't think, by it. But they were all on board, like, yeah, we'll do this, join the wedding. And I think about that similar thing in other parts of life. I might have thought were friends. Was one of my roommates who I was very fond of, and I would say we were friends, but we lost touch, and I forget where he moved out of state or whatever. And I was like, man, I would try to find him and stuff and get in contact with him, but I wasn't successful. It was real, real difficult.
Who's that,
And,
Brian?
yeah, yeah. And I was
Yeah.
like, man, this is my boy right here, and it took, like, I finally spoke to him. Was it last year or something?
Was
But it
that
was
last
like
year?
I was looking and looking for this dude for the longest. He was actually said he was coming to the wedding, but he didn't show up. I think that was the last time I talked to him, was, because I don't know if he changed his number or whatever happened, but I was like,
But a lot
man.
of that was out of your control because you just didn't know where he was. This is not a
Hmm.
matter of, I know where Brian is. I can call him. I'm not. Um,
But I mean, I
but
said to say that because there's other friends or other people I knew that I could get in contact with, but I didn't have the desire to get in contact with them as much as I did with Brian. So I guess you might have to introduce too. Are there levels of friendships?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I guess you can't. Whoever you fond of, however that looks like. I don't think that's a measure of rightness or wrongness, or you should or shouldn't do something. I just think that's just the way it is. Some people are more important to you at certain times in your life than others. I get that, and I think that's okay. But what I'm really talking about, so let's talk about a couple of mutual friends of ours, and I tell you one that kind of bothered me, and I don't have a problem saying it. And I think I even expressed that to you was Scooter, and you knew Scooter as a kid, and I met Scooter in college, and we hung out and everything. So Scooter may have been a closer friend to you than he was to me, but he was just somebody who left an impact on me. It's like, oh, I know this guy, he's cool. And for years and years, we went through this thing of, you got to track down Scooter, or you're not worth your salt, and all that kind of stuff. We played this game of being detective or whatever. And I don't know, did you find Scooter? Somehow he popped up on, I think it was Facebook.
He's on social media, yeah.
So I friended him, and I friended him on different platforms he went to. But recently I said to Ron, in light of another event, which I hope to get to, I said, Ron, we gotta contact Scooter. And it was funny because your reaction was, okay. I mean, I text you, and it wasn't like, oh yeah, I gotta do this. Oh, that's a good idea. It was just okay. And it was kind of like, well, if you're so, indifferent to it, why didn't you bring it up? But it wasn't that big a deal. So I reached out to Scooter, and hey man, let's hook up. I'm talking to Ron, and Scooter was kind of even about it. Yeah, that sounds good, man. So I said, okay. And then it became this thing of which, this is my personal aspect, and I'll get to that, also get to that later. But it's like, okay, where you want to go, where you want to meet. So I set up this whole thing, and we were going to meet the next Friday. Ron was cool with it, Scooter was cool with it. I'm getting dressed. We're gonna meet at 6 o'clock on Friday at this place Ron and I go to. And it became this thing of, that door is Rachel opening, closing doors. This it became this thing. I was getting ready. It was 5:30, and my phone beeps, and it's Scooter, and he says, "Oh, I forgot I gotta take my sister to the airport." And I remember looking at it like, I don't believe that. So all of that is to set up. I mean, why did that happen? Why did we lose touch with Scooter? Especially, I mean, it's like 10 years ago we found him on Facebook. Why did that take so long for you, for me, for him, for that matter, to say, hey, let's get together? Because we all lived in the Detroit area. I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't know. Let me see. When did I lose contact with him? Because after he grew up, we both grew up on the same street. He lived across the street from me. We're saying middle high school. I was in high school. He was a year behind us. He went to a different high school, but he was across the street from me. And I don't know how it happened, but he would start coming over every day, and my sister would say, Ron, uh, and Scooter is not his real name. This is a name that I think James made up about him
I definitely
because
gave it to him.
I don't
He's always
know.
he was always like a kid dragging a scooter behind him or something. I was like, where's this guy keep coming from?
So he named him, and then later on he actually finds out. But uh, so I say his name is Evan, but he would come over all the time. A lot of times, like, oh man, not him again and stuff. When I was, I'm a teenager, so it's like, okay, he'll come and we just talk on the porch. That's all. We just be on the porch talking about whatever. He's a big DC fan. He loved DC and
DC Comics.
yeah, DC Comics. He didn't. Oh, I forgot. I'm not supposed to say brands, but but
We're
he
gonna get a
over
copyright strike.
right over the other popular brand he didn't really care for.
Yeah,
But
that's right. He was very much about that.
and he was into it, like, and he was into
Yeah.
he was an interesting guy. He was really into the Royals in England and stuff. We talk about
Oh
that.
my God.
He talked about how intelligent he thought Kennedy was the most intelligent president ever, and all this. So he was like not your typical teenage boy, and so but we kick it on the front porch all the time, and it'd be like every day. Like, and I'm like, after a while, I want to say he grew on me. It was like, okay, like he's my friend. He's like, it wasn't like, oh man, it's him again. It got to be where, okay, we cool. And then after, we got older, hung out together. We actually worked together on a summer job at a telemarketing company and stuff. So, we were cool. And I don't know what happened. I think after college, he ended up moving away to a
He
different
moved away.
neighborhood. Yeah, but we still talk and stuff on the phone and things like that. I think I went to his house a couple times. We moved where he moved to. So, but we just kind of, I don't know, lost touch or whatever after that. I don't know. Life, started growing up and stuff started going on. Families. I don't think family was involved at the time when we first lost contact, but yeah, I don't know. We might have lost numbers. He might have changed
But
numbers or
but
something.
but your life changed.
Yeah.
And that's allowed. I mean, things happen. You're not the same person you were in high school and college. I think that's fair. But there was a point, either it was Facebook or whatever, when you reunited with him and you were able to get in contact with him.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what I'm asking about Scooter in particular, but friendship in general, it's like, why don't we pursue that? There's a break. You stop going to school together, you stop working together, and you lose that connection where you see him every single day. But you can still, or you get the ability. Why don't you? And is it because you don't value his friendship in particular, you don't value friendship in general, or is it just because I don't want to?
I'm thinking maybe it's
I
need.
mean,
It's all
I
need
truly don't
based.
know.
Maybe. Yeah. Maybe it's need based.
Mhm.
Like at a time that because it became a time where it wasn't a need to talk to him or hang out with him. That's just what you did. And I think with a
Okay.
lot of
All right.
friends, that's kind of just what you did. We like each other. We hang out with each
That's
other. That's just what we do. And that becomes your
that's
daily
that's valid.
routine.
Yeah.
But when your
Yeah.
daily routine changes and they're not in it now, you know, as someone often say, if you think of your life as a TV show, you're the star of your own show and everybody else is just guest stars. And, they might come in for a moment and then they're gone, and that was that episode. And now from on, you might not see them again. And you got some that are more reoccurring. And so it's just, I think, in our, I guess, selfishness or doing things in our life, whether it's good or bad selfishness, it is what it is.
Well, I
Some
don't think
people are
it's
more
I don't
involved than
think it's
others.
selfishness. I think you said it. It's like, so you had to use your TV analogy, you had a slot for Evan. Evan came on at 8 o'clock. But something else went in that spot, and there's no spot for Evan anymore. I think that's valid. But but I'm asking that. I mean, I'm kind of, I never thought of it quite like that. But what I'm asking now is that, have you ever gotten to a point where it's like, okay, I don't have anything that, I hate this analogy, in that 8 o'clock spot anymore. Evan can fit in. Why don't I call Evan? I don't
Well,
understand it.
you're switching up the analogies. It's not like a slot. It's like on this episode or this season of Ron Love's life. We bring back this other character that was here years ago, or are they continuing? Are they still come in for a guest spot and then they're gone? And I think that's the thing. How much of these other characters, like you can only have such a certain amount of size of a cast, I guess, in your life. So
Okay,
that's
so
limited.
so I'm gonna utilize this analogy one more time because I absolutely hate it. But in your cast of characters, you got the main character and five support characters, and then like you said, five come in. But what if you're at a point, and maybe you're not, and maybe it's just me, but what if you're at a point where you don't have five anymore? You got one,
Mm,
so there's room for four more.
yeah.
Do you reach out to that one of those guys and say, hey, come back onto the show? Oh God, I hate that. I'm not gonna say it anymore. But but in the case, so maybe Evan's not such a good. Well, I don't know because you were a lot closer to him than I was.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Is like if you okay, so I didn't I'm on this show, but I'm not the writer. Sometimes people just come in your life and you don't know why or whatever. So it's like I'm not planning it. And so if something should happen where this person's in your life and next thing you know, okay, oh man, this is a big hit. Like, supposedly Stephen Urkel from the show Family Matters was only supposed to be one episode or two, but he was such a big hit.
Right. He was a
He
breakaway
became
character.
the main character actually of the show. So, if somebody comes in your life, this nice young lady on this episode, I meet this woman named Flo, and she's a nice chick, and she ends up, lo and behold, being my wife, and now she's like the main character all the time. I think, yeah, if there's room and it happens, sometimes things just happen, and not
And I
necessarily that
think
you're manufacturing it, but
that's a
they're in
good
your
point.
life.
So that's how we progress. For me, it was Alicia, and we had a new coast. No, I'm not doing it. We got a new person in our life. So, but we had a time as young men where we had friends. Dare I say, we had more friends then than we had now. I mean, that's the case for me. Is that the case for you?
Hmm. I don't know. I I would say it's probably about the same because
So you
it's
got,
weird because you got different dynamics and I think part of it is like for me I had work buddies and friends and stuff that we was cool, we hung out even outside of work, but now I don't even keep in contact with a lot of them.
but that's what I'm
But
that's what
then
I'm
I got
saying.
church friends and stuff, and so it's like
Right.
different institutions
But they
brought different
got they
people in your
got
life.
they got different places in your life. So
Yeah,
at church, I have these friends. At work, I have these friends. And in basketball court, I get that. But what
yeah.
I'm saying is, when you were a young man, high school, college, you had your ride and dies. I wouldn't say these people from work and everything are your ride dies, right? They're just people that if you see them, you see them.
Yeah, some were closer than others. Like when I say work friends, for example, like there's some people that
Mhm.
outside of work I don't talk to them. I never been to each
Right,
other's house,
right,
and there were
right.
some that I did. I would go to their house, they would come to my house, we hang out and whatever. And so
But are
even
you doing that?
those,
Are
no,
you doing that now?
for the
So that's
most
what I'm
part, no.
saying.
Yeah, even that.
So that's what I'm saying. So we as young men went through that. Apparently, young men aren't doing that now for various reasons, because the pandemic messed them up, because of social media, whatever. So that's why they have their loneliness. But we didn't go through that. We had friends. I had friends, and
Mm-hmm.
the work friends and all that kind of stuff. But as far as my ride or die, I mean, there's some people I can rattle off a few names of people who I consider my friend today, but I never see them. And what I'm getting to is why. I mean, you talked about the life changes, but I think there's a point in your life where, okay, the kids are grown. In my case, my wife is deceased. Your landscape changes, but we don't. hang out and do these things with people. So let me give you another example that again affected both me and Ryan. That was about David. Now, David, I went to high school, I mean, to grade school with David. He went to different high school, and we all ended up, Ron Dawson and I went to the same high school, and we all ended up in Michigan State together. So I knew David, Ron knew David, and Ron and David became friends. And David was just somebody I knew. Graduated from college, everybody split, went their own separate ways. And 2, 3 years ago, I saw David at this place. They're playing live music, and he sees me, and it's like, Roby. Oh, so we talked, and I said something to David, which because of the way friendships are and how we do things, I said, not really expecting a response from him. I said, we should get the fellas together. And David, being David, said, do it right now, do it. He made that, get your phone out and call him right now. I said, okay. So I got my phone out and I found Ron and I found a few other people. And David said, tell him we're going to meet here. I said, okay. So that it was like, this is going to happen and you're going to be there or you're not. And so, Ron and another guy and uh, David and I think that was the David, some other friends that I didn't know got together. And we hung out and we went to see, what we see, DJ Jazzy Jeff. And then I suggested, hey, let's do this again. Let's go see, watch a football game over at the sports bar I go to. So we did that. I think we did that a couple of times. And I thought we all had a good time. It was cool seeing everybody again, everybody, and I, for me, it was like a time capsule. I was back in Michigan State because uh, David James, and to some degree Ron, had almost like their own language that they spoke among each other. And it was quite something to witness. But they went right back to that. And I don't know if they had seen each other, but they were just, it was like Michigan State all over again. It was kind of creepy. And
Yeah, it's the same with
but
me.
it
It's like,
was like,
man, it's like, because even the roommate
right.
that we called who was out of state,
Mm-hmm.
and it was the same thing on him. It's like, man, it's like 30 years or 40 years ago. It's like the exact same thing. It was kind of weird.
Like nothing changed. And it was so I remember I was
Which was fine with me because that was probably the most fun time of my life.
no, that was and I'd have to agree. I had a lot of fun in Michigan State. But I was watching James and David talk. I was like, this is so weird because it was just like Michigan State. So I obviously got some out of it. But my point is that I got to I have had different philosophies about friendship. And for a long time, my philosophy was to have a friend, you have to be a friend. So I made great efforts to maintain friendships. And but then life has taught me that you can't make somebody a friend. So I helped put the initial meeting together, and then we met at the sports club a couple of times. And then I said, you know what? I can't keep if these guys don't want to hang out with me, I'm not going to make them. I don't want to. I mean, I'm not that pathetic. So I stopped calling them, and then all of a sudden we stopped doing things together. Why did that happen?
Mm. Yeah, I think the typical thing is, yeah, it was good to happen, but I don't know if we want to do this every week or every month or whatever. I mean, it could have been like somebody could have said that, hey, let's do this every month, and then we probably would have been doing it. It was just, again, going back to that analogy, on this very special episode, we meet up with the college friends, and then after
Yeah,
that, it's
but
back to
okay,
your
no,
regular
no,
everyday
no,
life.
no,
You know what I mean?
we're not doing the TV thing.
Yeah, but I'm saying this.
But
The
but
thing
what I'm
is,
saying
like,
is
this was
that
a point in time. Like, man, this was cool, but for whatever reason, we're not expecting that to continue to go on. It was just like, man, this is a nice, cool thing, but
right,
like a
but
reunion. You don't have a reunions every week or every month.
you don't have every week. That's true, and that's very valid. But what we both kind of agreed on was that cast of characters has shrunk down in our life. So here comes two new cats who could fill the slot that we obviously have room for, but we didn't do it. And
I don't know. We had room for it. We had a room for it for that moment, but I don't
I mean,
know.
but you said it yourself. that could have been a monthly thing. And that was quite without.
Yeah.
I mean, we never shared this. That's what my thought was. I said, this is something we could do every, once a month or whatever. And ironically, my father, who since passed away, but his friends do that once a month. They get together and they actually go to each other's house. They just do that as a rotation. Now, I'm not saying we should have did that. What I am saying is that we got some value out of it, but we didn't pursue it. And I don't know why. I don't know if we're better or worse for that. I don't know if we had done it every month, would that enrich our lives some, or would it just been another thing we have to do?
Mm, mm. That's a good question. I don't know.
I
That's a
don't
good.
know either.
That's a good because I can see that both happening. But I guess for it to actually have to occur, we had to both, or we had to go into the mindset of like, yeah, this would be a benefit for us if we did this every month. We have to be on the same page,
But
maybe
we never
going
got
in.
to that point.
Yeah.
Because
It would take
ironically,
somebody to say it. Like in your case,
right,
it took David to say, okay, do it. Call him now. Because otherwise it would have been the same thing. We should get together, but nothing actually happens.
right.
So it takes
And and
at
and
least
and
one person, I guess,
at
to
least
do
one
that.
person, because you were thinking the same thing I was thinking. And until literally this very moment, I didn't know you thought that this would be something we could do every month. I mean, that's what I was thinking. I remember sitting there and saying, we could do this every month. This is I don't know. I guess I may be projecting some because since I left college and went to the service, that's when my idea of to to have a friend, you have to be a friend. I'm distant from everybody because initially I was in North Dakota, which is very far away. And since then I moved to different places that was still far away physically. I mean, the closest I was to a friend was I was in Mobile, and the other Ron was
Alabama.
in no, Alabama, and other guy was in Georgia. That's the closest physically. So I thought that I need to make an effort to connect with people, and I didn't get anything out of it. If we would get together and then we never would get together again unless I did it. And so I started to stop. You know what? I think I'm bothering people. Maybe I shouldn't do this. And I think that's the norm. If I see you, I see you. But what I'm asking is if there is this dearth of friendships that we have, why don't we make more efforts to have friends? Is it because they're old friends and we want new friends, or I don't know. I don't get it.
I don't know if we recognize or realize it's a dearth or that we need it. That's the
Nah,
thing. So
that might
like
be it.
the younger people, like I don't need this person, or I don't need friends, or some people want friends and don't have them, and other people don't feel like they need any more friends, or so they just kind of happy or they okay with whatever the routine they have. And yeah, that's why I said the part of a needing a friend. You know, when I said earlier, when I needed somebody to stand in my wedding because I didn't have enough men to equal the number of women my wife had in her, on her side, it was like, I needed them, but you know, did I need them really to be a friend, or I just needed some bodies? You know what I mean? So we talked a little bit after that, but after that, it kind of went away. We didn't talk much anymore beyond that.
Well, was that because you just went back to your routine, or you didn't want to be friends with them anymore?
It's not that I don't want to be friends. They were cool guys. I
Exactly,
had fun, but the routine, everything changed
the
because I'm
routine.
getting married now. So now everything's changed. So not that they weren't in the routine before. Now they got married and we talked a little bit more, but then after a while, kind of just faded off.